Welcome to the FMCG Guys podcast. I'm Daniel Torres here live from the Netherlands today. This is a very special episode, I would say, for the FMCG Guys because it's hopefully the first episode in partnership with the Lead Network, which is a group that we'll talk more about with our guest today, but that promotes the advancement of women in executive positions in consumer goods and retail in Europe. So maybe
Yes.
our guest today will tell it better than me, but we're here at the FrieslandCampina office in Amersfoort, and we're speaking with their global commerce director, Frouke Hakstege. Thanks for having me. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, and well done on pronouncing the name. I know it's not an easy one, but you did well.
I did my Erasmus in Utrecht.
See,
so
there
I
you
got
go.
a bit of an immersion, as much as you can have. But thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here and great to speak with you.
No, so I guess the question is you recently joined FrieslandCampina
Yes.
after a life in P&G.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so indeed, I joined FrieslandCampina earlier this year after spending more than 20 years at P&G. And I never thought I would have stayed for so long in P&G, but it's just been a fantastic ride with lots of opportunities, both here in the Netherlands. We spent about 10 years living in Geneva, in the European HQ, lots of different career opportunities. So the ride has just been fantastic all along.
You had reasons to stay for this long.
I had reasons to stay for that long, and I could have also had reasons to stay for longer because it wasn't that I was at the end of my, it was still fun. I was still learning. But at the same time, we moved back as a family to the Netherlands about 4 years ago, and we'd like to stay here for the next few years because of the age of our children, because of the work of my husband, because of our parents who are getting a bit older.
Yeah.
And Netherlands from a P&G perspective isn't the biggest location.
Yeah.
So it became a bit limiting. And at the same time, I was also just looking for something new.
Yeah. And when you have the opportunity, I think, to join a local champion, but with such a global footprint, it's kind of like, it's a really good step for somebody that comes from like a multinational to go into like something that's homely, but at the same time has this international perspective, no?
And it's exactly that I like about this company, right? It has very good purpose.
Yeah.
It has, it has an important heritage and footprint here in the Netherlands, but it's a global player. And I like the global side of things.
Totally.
And I like that it's so different versus what I've been doing at P&G.
Yeah.
So it's still a big company, but it's a cooperative. It's no longer stock listed. I now work directly for the CEO. So there's lots of changes versus what I've been doing. And I feel that it gives energy to do something new.
Yeah, and whenever you speak with someone like from FrieslandCampina, they very quickly say that all the work that you guys do is to really deliver results to like your supply base, which is the farmers that are like the cooperatives, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So, success for us is to pay a leading milk price to the farmers.
Yeah.
And indeed, we're a cooperative. So we're actually owned by the farmers, which gives a very, very unique dynamic to the company. And it's something that you really see and feel throughout all the layers, which is great.
Yeah, and you already feel it within
just a few weeks. Oh, yes. It doesn't take long.
Yeah,
it doesn't take long.
So you're reporting into the CEO.
Yeah.
What does global commerce mean?
So basically what he's asked me to do is, Frouke, what should be the commercial agenda for the FrieslandCampina enterprise? This organization went through quite a transformation about 2.5 years ago with a different operating model, different organizational structure.
Yeah.
They've created 7 business groups. And they've significantly empowered the business groups versus before, where there was more decision authority and strategic thinking done at a corporate level. So corporate has been scaled down, business groups have been empowered, and every business group has a certain set of opcos underneath them.
And the business groups are based on geography, category?
Partially geography, partially route to market. So there is an Asian business group, there is a Middle East, an Africa business group, a Europe business group, but there is also a specialized nutrition, so mainly baby powder milk. There's a professional business group really serving B2B, HoReCa, those type of things. So there's
very important for beverages.
Yes. Yeah.
Because ultimately, even if it's dairy, it's also very strong in on-trade, right? So
exactly. There's an ingredients business group, and that's something that from the outside I wasn't as much aware of. But trading like the high quality proteins for sports nutrition, we're selling ingredients to companies like Mondelez, Mars, Danone.
Completely different route to market.
Very different, very different. Very different. So what happened as part of that transformation is more decision authority in the business groups.
Yeah.
And what they're realizing now is that whilst that is great, a route to market empowered organization, there is the need for a corporate or enterprise-wide commercial calendar, commercial language. How do we really operate as an enterprise to accelerate both top line growth and margin enhancement? I think if you look back at the last 2-3 years, the company has been pretty successful at improving bottom line. Now it's time to accelerate the top line. And that's the question that has been asked to myself and my team. What should we do and how do we do it? So I'm still within my first 100 days, so I don't have all the answers and I doubt I'll have them towards the end, but it's certainly going to be an exciting agenda with lots of transformation, professionalism, and we're going to bring really all of it.
A deep dive into the business, into the markets, into the channels, and into the people as well. No?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the people will play a big part of the transformation that we'll have to drive.
Yeah.
So how do we do that? How do we bring them along? How do we make sure that it fits this company, right? I've spent 20 years in P&G, so that's the world that I know. I realize that this world is very different, and that's great, and that should stay, right? So it's not to recreate the world that I come from, but I do think there's inspiration from the school of P&G that I can partially reapply here, whilst also building new muscles myself, because again, it's very different.
Yeah, totally. And we mentioned that today is like a partnership with the Lead Network. I define it as like an association that wants to like promotes the advancement of senior women executives in FMCG and retail. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Am I missing pieces?
No, so it's indeed, Lead has been established back in 2011.
Which sounds like the Stone Age, no?
Yeah, and so at the same time, it's only 15 years.
It's been around forever and only 15 years.
It's only 15 years. And really, they indeed focus on advancing gender equality in CPG and retail across Europe. So that's the scope, let's say. It's a volunteer-led organization. So there's very few people that actually sit at the Lead Network payroll. Majority are volunteers. And they work with partner companies. So P&G, my former employer, was a partner company. FrieslandCampina also happens to be a partner company of Lead. All companies that really believe in a more equal and well-included workforce. And also all companies that believe that we are not where we should be and that deliberate focus and transformation is needed to get to a more equal workplace. So I think there's around 65 partner companies at the moment. And there are about 25,000 members or volunteers. So as I said, it's all volunteer-led. The great thing is you don't have to be part of a member company to become a member or a volunteer. Yeah. If you want to be like really in a leadership position, like what I do for the sales chapter of Lead, then you do need to work for a partner company. But everyone can become a member. You can have access to many of the free events. Some of them are in person. Yes. I think you actually attended one of those, didn't you?
I attended actually 2 in 2019. No, 3. I went to one in Barcelona, one in London, like the small chapter, local chapter ones. Yeah. And then I went to the main event in Madrid.
Cool.
Which I think you still have every fall, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So last year it was Milan. It's happening every October, which is great, right? That's where we're coming together. And really, I mean, it's great to then be physically connected because lots of it happens remotely, at least in the way that I'm involved, because Lead is organized by chapter. So there's geographical chapters. So there's a chapter for the Netherlands, one for Belgium, one for France, across the markets. Then there are chapters based on specific functions that tend to be underrepresented by women.
Supply chain, sales.
There you go. That's it. That's it. And then there are some which are focused more on there's a next gen, for example, and next generation, the younger generations. There's recently a chapter that has opened up on menopause.
Oh, interesting.
Right. So
also interesting moment career-wise in that age group.
Exactly. Oh, I dread it. I'm not there yet. But I just hear the most horrific stories about menopause. So fingers crossed, it's gonna be mild to me. But yeah, so the different territories, and then I'm the co-chair for the sales chapter.
And when did you become involved in lead?
So I was a member when I was still in Geneva as part of the Swiss chapter, and there was a lead event at some point at the P&G office. So I attended that, and I've joined some of the virtual webinar type of connects over the years, and then I met with the founder of the Lead Network at the Consumer Goods Forum in Kyoto a few years ago.
Mick, no?
Mick, indeed. And Mick and I got talking, and we followed up over a very nice lunch in Amsterdam, and he said, I think you would be a great addition. And I had time for this, and two, I find this a very important space, because I agree that this world needs further advancement. And I love that you are also connected to this, and that you've been to some of the events, because so often this is women talking with women about advancing women, and that doesn't work. We need to have men as part of the equation, because we need to solve for this collectively, and we need to see the opportunity collectively. So following that talk with Mick, I got I got a position in the sales chapter, and then soon after I was asked to become the co-chair. So I've been doing that now for about 2.5 years, and it's really nice. It's really nice.
And what do you actually do, like when you head up, like or as a sales chapter for Lead?
Yeah, so we are a small chapter committee. I think we have we're with around 10 people, all from different companies. So that's very nice on its own, right? To get to engage with people who also work in the industry, but within different companies. And we really drive the sales-specific agenda across the region. So what is specific about female sales leaders within CPG and retail versus everyone else, and how do we advance them? So we organize webinars where we have people speaking. We actually had a very nice one earlier today with Beatrice de Noret from Bell Group. You may know her.
Also P&G alumni.
Also, that's how I know her indeed. And so she spoke about her experiences.
Also great experience in sales.
Awesome. And fantastic woman, super inspirational, so very nice. So we try to put people like Bea in the spotlight to just showcase what success can look like. We also have a very active LinkedIn group where we share materials, stats that we see, interesting reads that we share. We've just actually also written our own sales career book, where we've asked different people from within our networks to talk about their career story. And what have they, because everyone's story is different. And there's so much inspiration you can get. So we have quite a few people that have contributed, and the book has just been published, and we'll be formally launching it towards the end of this month, which really is about how to navigate your career. Inspiration from different people, not only senior leaders, also middle management.
Well, by the time this podcast goes out, it will probably have gone out as well. No?
I think so. It should be.
We'll put it in the show notes so that people can download it or buy it or.
Yeah, no, it's free. It's free, so they can download. Yeah, let's do that. So there's different things. There's different things we do. Different ways that we're engaging. I believe we have around 6,000 members now. Always opportunity for more. So if anyone listens in, let's also put the link to our specific chapter in the show notes.
Since you mention it now, I think it's a good one. How can people get involved?
Yeah, so you can register for free
at the website, no?
At the website.
We'll leave that link on the show notes.
Yeah, you can register for free, and then you can become a Lead Network member. You can subscribe to specific chapters. So I'm personally part of sales, but also of the Netherlands, because that's where I live. And then you get invited to the different events, and some of them are in person. Some of them are virtual. Some of them are active engagement sessions, right? We've also launched networking sessions, for example, because we just feel like we as a chapter team enjoy talking to people from other companies. We're not the only one, so we also make that available for our members. So it's super easy. There's no cost involved as a member, right? For partner companies, of course, that's different. But that's another way to get involved, right? To become a partner company, if you really believe in the need for change and want to be part of driving that change, then that's of course the ultimate way of getting involved in the Lead Network.
What does it mean to be a partner company actually? Like here at FrieslandCampina, like what does that mean? What do you get?
It's a fair question, right? So, I mean, these partner companies connect every now and then. So there's a practice of sharing, right? Because some companies naturally are further advanced versus others. So I think that's one benefit, which is a very logical benefit. Then there are some programs that Lead offers on how to advance diversity and inclusion within your leadership team, for example. So trainings, modules that they have created that they're making available. There's a very nice mentoring program that you get access to. So as a partner company, you can select a certain amount of your female talent to become part of that mentoring program. So those are initiatives that are taken by Lead. Lead also runs specific surveys every year on how is the industry evolving, CPG and retail. How are we doing when it comes to female advancement and creating that equal workspace? And of course, those are not for free. So you're funding, you're helping to fund and make available those important pieces of research.
Of
and then when there are events, you have the opportunity to lead or to co-lead, to have brand visibility.
Yeah, and let's face it, I think it's a good. Well, it's a good aesthetically. It looks good for. I was gonna say women, but also men that believe in this, people that believe in this, to be in a company that's progressive in that way.
Yeah.
And second, it's a good way of companies to giving their employees an extra bit of visibility, which I think is super. I mean, I think that we probably realize that as we advance in our career, how important it is to like be networked outside, have that outside visibility.
Yes.
But I think that that's a good thing to add to people.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also how important it is. And that's what I came across myself as I was looking for a job outside of P&G, right? P&G is great, but only P&G, it's not enough. So what else? So many people ask me, what else have you done? Or what more have you done? Whereas I think my track record in P&G was pretty okay. But just it's good to have diversity of experiences, and experience in a volunteer-led organization, of course, is very different versus in a corporate machine with all the good intent, like P&G.
You build your brand further than what your role is, and your role in a company is like, it's not only Frouke the sales leader, but it's Frouke the sales leader, but also the person that has visibility within Lead and that a lot of people know and maybe look up to as well. No, so it's also a way of like, if you think of it like from a very individualistic self-interest point of view, it also is great to build your network, build your visibility, etc.
Absolutely. And it's fantastic to be connected to people from other companies, right? Such great talents, or people that are a few years younger than I am, that I just love engaging with and help them progress. So there's a very nice mentoring lens to it. There's different ways of looking at it, but it's absolutely enriching and very nice to do.
Especially today, where we're seeing that like business transformation is like not a project, it's a constant. So just like having that external lens and bottom-up communication from place outside your ivory tower is, I think, very positive in general. No,
yes.
I think that people sometimes are a bit afraid of like the networking events, but if it has the right setup, the right demographic and so on, it's extremely rewarding.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think especially women are a bit hesitant when it comes to networking, whereas it's so important and it's so much fun. But it takes a little bit of courage to go out there, and then once you're in, it's actually really nice.
It takes courage, and it's just like you have to do it maybe 3 times, maybe go with someone. Maybe find an ally to go with, because that makes it much easier the first times than going into a room.
Yeah, all alone.
Like even for me, like now I'm kind of fine with it. But I remember like 2 years ago, I kind of have anxiety when you go into a room and you don't know anyone. You're like, who's going to want to speak with me? And no?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. Same for me as I walked into this door the first day, right? Here at FrieslandCampina.
Where to start, no?
Yeah. What will they think? Will I like the people? And of course, I've met quite a few people throughout the process. But any beginning is positively anxious, exciting, all at the same time.
It's what they say, no? That what is it? Learning starts at the end of your comfort zone or something like that. And that's why it's called comfort zone, because it's comfortable, and outside the comfort zone, it's uncomfortable, no?
Yeah.
I think that's a good reminder for people to like remind themselves of like, if you want to do extraordinary things, you have to like put yourself out there.
Exactly.
Be it in many different ways, but I think networking is one of them.
Yeah. No, and also, I mean, I really believe if you're unsatisfied with the status quo today, do something about it.
Yes.
Right? Because there's lots of people that are unsatisfied, and it can be small things, big things, right?
Yeah.
What I can't stand is people being unsatisfied, complaining about it, not doing anything about it.
Yeah.
Am I the one who's going to change the world? Maybe not. Is lead network the one that is going to change the world? Maybe not, but collectively and together we are making progress.
Definitely.
So that's the other thing that I like about this, actively contributing to something that I believe in.
Since you mentioned the thing of not being happy and not doing anything about it, it's a topic that's come out in some conversations lately. I think it's fascinating. Like, you ran a risk, you ran a visual risk leaving P&G, which was your comfort zone after 20 years, having a family and so on, to go somewhere new. I think that the unperceived risk is staying in a place where you're not happy as well. What would you say to people that are like, maybe feel like they should move, but they have a lot at stake and they don't move because of that?
I mean, and I think there's lots of people in that situation that hold on to certainty and to what they know and to the comfort of that. I'm someone who wants to keep learning and wants to keep experimenting, and life is too short. And as I said at the beginning, right, I've literally enjoyed all of my time at P&G, and I was still enjoying it towards the end. And I would have hated for people to, by the time that I would have announced that I was leaving, for people to say, oh yeah, I saw that coming because you checked out a while back. So that's something that I really wanted to avoid. And I believe I did. But there's so much beautiful things out there to go after. And also me in my search for what was going to be next, I've explored multiple different options and different PE-backed portfolio type of companies. Of course, I also got pulled into the, similar companies like P&G. So spoke with some of them, but really felt like I wanted to do something different. What was a big part for me was the logistical setup, right? Because we didn't talk about that at the beginning, but so I've got my professional career. I'm also a mom of 4 children.
Yeah.
And my husband also has a full-on career, also international. So having the balance right of investing in my own career and me, and making sure that we're happy as a family, is not always straightforward. And one of the things that became pretty obvious to me as we decided as a family, Netherlands is going to be our home base for at least the next few years, to find a role in a company that fits also that personal need. So I've spoken with companies based in Zurich, wonderful companies, great opportunities. But for me, at this point in time of my life, to commit to being present in Zurich or Belgium or London multiple days a week is just not the right thing. Regardless the title, the salary, everything that comes, I strongly felt that's not what I want. We want to be here and I want to be here. Now I'm at the other extreme, because if you look outside of the window, that's the primary school that my younger 2 children go to. And if you look just up the hill, that's where I live.
Really?
So this is unique. I've got a 5-minute bike commute to work.
Wow.
which is fantastic. But to have that setup that works both professionally,
Yeah.
because I didn't settle for less on the professional side, but I found something, and I'm in my first 100 days. So, but it seems that it's working both.
I don't
for
think
me.
you would be doing a podcast if you were not having.
I'll ask you to delete it if things go differently, unexpectedly. But that's so important, right?
Yeah,
so to have your priorities right. What is it? What fits with your life stage? Where do you want to go? What are your what are the guardrails? What's the framework?
Yeah.
And within that, maximize your opportunities.
I always say the same, like, of course, the more flexible you are, the more opportunities you'll have. But the most important thing is to have clear, personally, what will work for you.
Yeah.
Because, whenever we've had a bad day personally, we've had a fight with our partner, a problem with the bank and so on, are we going to perform in the same way at work? Clearly not, right?
No, you're going to put too much strain on a system that's already tight. So absolutely be clear on the priorities.
So when we were introduced by another lead member, Manuela Monetti, and when she sent me she mentioned your name and I looked at your profile, you've done a lot in sales. Like that's been like the base of your career.
Yeah.
How did you get into sales in the first place?
Yeah, so this was never my plan.
You didn't grow up saying, I want to be in sales?
Oh, no. So I come from a pretty social family. Not saying that sales isn't social, but my dad was a psychologist, psychiatrist, hypnotherapist.
Where did you grow up?
Here. Just
you
again,
grew up
also
here?
in this city. Yeah. So it's kind of full circle to now be here. Yeah, so I grew up here. But my dad, psychologist, psychiatrist. My mom used to work in a shelter for women facing domestic violence, women and children. And commercial was never something that I grew up with, right? My dream was to go to Africa and make safe and safe drinking water systems available in the rural areas. That was my dream. Yet here I am. So
what happened?
Yeah, so when I graduated from high school, I wanted to become a journalist, thinking that I can travel, I can write about the world, and I can do good, right?
And probably you wanted to do something that's international, no?
Yes.
Which is also very Dutch, I have to say, like to have that like international perspective on the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I never thought that I was going to just stay in the Netherlands. So I was going to become a journalist, and I went to university in Amsterdam, where I chose science of communication as a subject because that could qualify for journalism. You could also do other things. And throughout my university time, I also chose some more business-related subjects, which I liked. Then I had to do my final internship, and I ended up at a strategic creative agency that was founded by, amongst others, a woman who came from P&G. She used to be brand manager at P&G, and she left after X years and started this creative agency. And I came on board as an intern/junior strategist. One of the things we were working on at that time was the creative campaign for the business course at P&G. So, the business course 3-day event.
Like internal event.
Internal within P&G, but the agency was working on the campaign because it had been a few years that they'd run this, but they needed new recruits, so P&G had reached out. So I was part of that team to work it. And then once everything was finalized, Sheila is her name, she said, "But Frouke, when will you apply?" When will I apply? I will not. This is not for me, right? My plan was different. And she said, "Well, why not? You should try." And HR on the P&G side said, "Of course you should try." So I thought, okay, I'm going to give it a try. Probably they won't let me in.
Because in your mind, you were more like going to the journalistic area, no?
Exactly. And in my mind, this was like only for the very best. And I never considered myself to be part of that very best. I thought it was very masculine. I thought it wasn't going to be for me, very American.
Maybe like another social class even in some way or another background, no?
Yeah. It literally never crossed my mind that was going to be for me.
Yeah.
But I thought, why not, right? If you believe this could be fun, let's go. A few days, right? Few days business course, what's the risk? So I went through all the selection process, which at that time was the same as applying for a job. So it was a serious process, and quite a few of us actually ended up working at P&G.
Is that the process that P&G does for their graduates? No, it's a different thing.
No, it's not the standard, but at the time, this is how they did it. So long story short, I ended up in that business course. I loved it. I had a great time, and I liked the sales part because it was sales and marketing focused. I liked the sales part most.
Yeah.
Because success is very clearly defined and very visible.
Yeah.
Are you scoring?
Are you competitive? Or were you competitive at the time?
Yes, I am, but friendly competitive, I would say.
Yeah.
Team player, but I like to score.
I'm competitive as well. I'm a nice guy, I think.
Yeah, no, you are. No, but there's some negative connotation around competitiveness, and even more so for women than for men.
Yes.
But yes, I'm competitive. I like to win, and I like to win together with a team.
Which is the good competitive is a lot of that, no? Like that it's not like necessarily your success, and that's the negative thing that has sometimes.
Yeah, and it's not like, not with the elbows, not pushing others away. That's something that I would never do intentionally, at least. But this business course was just brilliant. Great people, both my co-business course followers, but also the people that I engaged with in P&G. And I somehow felt at home. And then when they also signaled that they liked me, well, let's try, let's go. But if you would have told me then that I would have stayed 20 years, that I would have been on the fast track, that I would leave as a global VP, hell no. But yet it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. And it didn't happen by coincidence, right? It's just been a great ride. I discovered my passion for beauty whilst I was working for P&G, because of course there's lots of categories, right? So I started working on pretty much all of them. And then very early on, I said, I like this beauty world, which was skincare, hair care, cosmetics. There's this emotional connection from a consumer point of view, from a shopper point of view, but also the negotiations with the trade were different. Different, richer. Yeah, fabric care, laundry, home care, very hardcore margin negotiation, which I can do, right? I know how to do. But I don't enjoy as much as really building the partnership.
It's probably more like a category building type of partnership than than like competing for shelf space.
Yeah. So early on in my career, I was also able to therefore do marketing and sales combined because it was the smaller business. So roles became multifunctional more early on in my career, which I enjoyed because I do think as a real commercial leader, or as a GM or as a managing director, you can't just know one function. I think it's important that you have broader experience, which I was able to get at an early age. So I had roles where I combined marketing and sales.
Is it like MSNP or?
So MSNP is very P&G internal. So indeed brand and MSNP combined.
Yeah.
So I was business.
MSNP is like
trade marketing.
Trade marketing-ish. More, as a P&G would say, it's like trade marketing, but more.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Totally. Bad, by the way, that you know the MSNP abbreviation.
Well, of course, I know a lot of people that worked at Procter,
Yeah.
That's what is 10 years plus of recruiting in FMCG will do to you.
Yes.
Sometimes people tell me, Daniel, like, it sounds like you speak like you worked at P&G.
Yeah, that's funny. No, so I did MSNP, trade marketing and brand marketing combined, for example, which was very nice. Very nice and really broadened.
And you see like the kind of end-to-end as well.
Exactly. Very so I've done that when I was, I think, 5 years in the company here in the Netherlands. I've also done that at a later stage when I was leading skincare for Europe and IMEA from Geneva. Also, not the biggest business for P&G, but thereby broad responsibility. Which was brilliant.
And also being in Geneva, which is European headquarters, there I guess that you get to also learn how to manage people that are not reporting into you, influencing,
lots of stakeholder management.
Which is not what you want to do. It's a typical thing, no? Like global role versus local role. Textbook ideal, if you want to reach C-level, it's like you should be doing 60 or 70% local and 30-40 regional strategy, no?
Yeah. And mixing internal and external roles.
Yes.
So I've done local internal roles, facing a Kruidvat here in the Netherlands as a young account manager on hair care and cosmetics, for example. But I've also done internal roles here in the Netherlands, again mixing that brand and trade marketing role. I've done the same in Geneva. I've had internal roles, I've had external roles, and I've had regional roles, global roles, local roles, and it's really the mix because you learn so many different things in the different, however you slice and dice it, right? In the different parts of the organization that you work on. And I do really believe that you're a better local leader if you know how your company works. And to know how the company works, there's only so much I got to see from that in my years here in the Netherlands in P&G. But same for me now in FrieslandCampina, because I joined the global headquarters here in Amersfoort. It's very important that I also learn how does it work in the markets? What do they do? What do they face? What do the stores look like? What is retail like? What are the capabilities people have?
What are the competitors even? No?
Exactly. What's your competitive landscape? Where do we rank up? So the change from global, local, regional, internal, external roles is crucial. Absolutely.
When did you start leading people actually?
When I think I was 4 years in P&G, 4 years,
you were
early on.
In your mid-20s.
Yes, early 20s, mid-20s, yes.
What was it? What type of role was it?
I was business leader, cosmetics, maybe cosmetics and skin, I don't remember, for the Benelux.
So like a band to type of role.
Yes, so I had ABMs working for me. I also had on cosmetics, you have these hedges, they're called, right? The furniture in which it sits when it's in the store.
Which didn't they call that shopper-based design or something like that?
Yeah, that's also, but that also required real management, planning,
like POS management.
Yes, because normally the shelves are owned by the store, right? But in cosmetics, it's the supplier that owns the furniture. Let's
like
call
a
it.
huge overhead, right?
Yeah. So one of my first direct reports was an expert lady leading that, but I think she was, I don't know, 50 plus at that time, which was a very atypical direct report, especially in a company like P&G.
Yeah, because normally you manage like the next generation.
Exactly, the people that went through what you've just completed, right? And this was very different. So I had very rich, from that perspective, rich people management experience early on. And then again, when I moved to Geneva, you get people reporting into you from lots of different backgrounds, different functions, different regions, which is so enriching. And I'm not the type of leader that believes that I should have all the answers, thankfully.
That's something I think that's something that people should know very early on. Yeah. In life and in leadership even more. No?
Yeah. So what's the key questions to ask? How do you make people thrive? So I try to really tailor my style to the different people. How do you put people really, how do you give them wings, right? That's different one to the next. How do you maximize the potential? And then how can we create a team that just flies together and has fun whilst doing so? So important.
How do you like, because obviously you've been pretty successful in your career, so I guess that you've been successful as a leader as well. How do you like adapt to each person but still like be fair, if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's so complicated, no? But adapt to each person, be fair, still be yourself, and then get results.
Yeah. So maybe this is where the more social environment in which I grew up helps.
Really?
Because, I don't know, but I tend to be able to get along with people from all different backgrounds. What I really believe in is transparency, right? And I faced too many situations where people thought, because they've heard or interpreted that they were a top talent, whereas in reality they were not, for example. Or where they've only been doing great jobs, whereas in reality there was also things that should have. So I value transparency. I'm a servant leader, right? So I try to have a common objective of what does success look like for us as a team, but also for the individuals. But then how can I help the team get there? And this is not it's never my success. It's never my journey. It's a team effort. Even though I climbed the ladder within P&G, I hope, and I did get that back from my people, I didn't change. Sometimes you see people change, right? As they get bigger responsibilities, as they get bigger titles, maybe intentionally or unintentionally, but I never really went through that transition.
Yeah.
I stayed me, so I stayed accessible. And that helps. So I think I can say that I had a personal relationship with not all, but most of the people that worked for me over the years, and that people felt treated fairly. I'm ambitious. I like to win. So how do we really, as a team, become higher performing, better performing, striving for the best in an environment where people can be themselves, where people have fun, and where there's also room for, I mean, I have 4 kids, so I am not working 24/7, and I don't want anyone to feel that that's needed to progress in your career. So where there's also space for personal life and personal connection.
But all that with like, from what you're saying, with like a candid approach and transparency, and probably just people knowing where they stand, no? Because I think that is like the cornerstone of like, I don't know if it's psychological safety or call it as you will, but like to know that there's no secret agenda and okay, you're performing good. You don't have to double think. I'm not a top talent. Why am I not a top talent? No.
Yeah.
And
also,
sometimes people, to not hurt somebody's feelings, they're not honest, and that's like the worst you can do.
That's difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I faced that people came to me thinking one thing, but the system clearly said something else. That's just not fair to the people because everyone lives one life.
Yeah.
So why would you stay in an environment that may not be the best environment for you? And I've had a few instances where sometimes it was painful to go through the process of helping people open their eyes that maybe they would be better off elsewhere. But I've had a few instances where people thank me afterwards, right? Sometimes immediately, sometimes a few months or years later, saying, oh, I'm so happy because now I feel that I can really, play to my best in a different environment. And that's, I think, across life, right? Not everything you start ends up the way you want, or you end up in places that you never envisioned. But that's cool.
No, it's part of life also to understand what we're good at, what we're not so good at, and really maximize it, and hopefully have also a manager that helps us like flourish the parts that make us special, instead of like trying to push the things that maybe we're not that good. Of course, we'll have to do things we don't like, right?
Sure.
But like that is not like you should, instead of like pushing more on what you're good at, like trying to improve the things that you're not so good at sometimes.
No, and I think that's a bit old school indeed, where everyone needs to get everything to a certain level, right? All different aspects and skills. Of course, there's a hygiene factor, right? To be able to be a commercial professional, there's a hygiene factor, but then you can deliver results in so many different ways. And the way I do it is my way. There's other ways to do it that aren't per se better or worse. They're just different. But how do you play to your strengths? And how do you do it in a way where you bring your environment along, where you're driving value growth, not just for the company you work for, but also for the partners you work with? That's important to me. And there's so many ways you can go about it.
Yeah, as long as you deliver, and there's like this common denominator.
Yes.
Then at least.
Yeah.
And in your sales career, how many woman peers have you had?
So I think I've had all flavors of diversity. So I've been the only woman on a team multiple times. Multiple times. I've also sat on teams where the majority was women, the vast majority was women, mainly because of my interest for beauty, which still naturally attracts more women than men, especially in a company like P&G. Not only, but more. So I've had, and I've had the situation where the men were the vast majority, but I had a few other women around me. And more recently, I faced situations where the teams were more balanced. And I can really say from my own experience as well that those are the teams that function best. also for me as an individual, being the only woman on a team is difficult because one, you're looked at as the woman, right? And this was especially a bit earlier on in my career. I sometimes had ideas that I just didn't feel comfortable raising because I thought maybe they're not good enough, maybe they're stupid, maybe because they are, because I look at it as a woman. So I wish I had the confidence that I've got now to speak up in my earlier life. But
like there's no
you need to
stupid,
learn.
there's no stupid questions type of policy.
Exactly. No? And I've got a gut and I think I can trust it. By now I can and I do. And it's not only since a year or so, but that has grown over the years. But it's and teams with only women or vast majority women, same thing. It's not the right thing. Not for me personally, but also just not for the environment. Women to women aren't always very nice to each other.
As men to men cannot be as well. Why do you think that balance? Like if you think of like these situations where you've had more balance, why do you think it? Is it you think a thing of like harmony between personalities and ways of doing things? Because obviously, every person is different. There's a certain trend of ways that things that women do or men do, or sensitivities, or you know what I mean, or ways of socializing.
So I think one, if you have multiple women and multiple men on a team, no one is the outlier. If you look at it from a gender perspective, because of course there's much more angles to diversity, and that helps people to feel comfortable and to feel part of a team. It's difficult to feel part of a team if you're so different than the rest of the team. So that is, I think, one thing. Then indeed you have different backgrounds, and there's lots of stereotypes about men and women. I don't like them, but they're not there for no reason. So I think the combination of the two serves a more balanced and more holistic way of looking at whatever your business question or business situation is. I think it provides more equal opportunity also for the organization, the broader organization, because people will look at more junior talent differently. Everyone looks at that intentionally or not. You look at people through a certain lens. So if you've got different people at the table and you use those different lenses, the solutions or the objectivity of your statements will be better.
Or also a team that you see that has like, it's a team of 6 and it's 3 men, 3 women. Women is like 4 women, 2 men, or vice versa. I think it's more powerful, no? From an aesthetics point of view, and you can kind of, if you start to visualize it, you can understand why as well.
No, absolutely. And 50-50, I mean, yes, ultimately the world is 50-50. Not even, there are slightly more women, but roughly 50-50. So leadership should also be 50-50.
It should. How do you see also, like, because like it or not, people will, since you take on leadership roles, or since you like start to like perform well, you'll start to be an example to other people. And now that you're C-level even more, how do you see your role as that, and how do you go about it?
So I like to be a role model, and I know that I am, or that I'm looked at, and I like to be real about that. So I don't pretend that...
You don't have false modesty.
No. And I also don't pretend that it's always easy, right? Because with a full-on career, a husband that has the same, and then 4 kids together, it's pretty tight, right? It works. But if things go wrong, like last year our son broke his tibia while skiing, there's no flex in our system.
In your house, no?
And not just for us, for anyone that would be the case, right? I try to be real about the struggles that I also face, because it's easy to think, oh, she's successful, she's up there, she has her family, things must be rosy.
That's easy in hindsight. Like now it's easy to say, no?
I try to be accessible for people, right? So I love when... And it's mainly women that approach me and say, hey, I'm thinking about children, but now may not be a good time in your career. There's never a good time in your career to have kids.
It's always
and at the same time, there's always a good time, because what's more wonderful than starting your own family? So I try to be accessible, and I try to just show what's possible. At the same time, I need to be realistic to myself as well, because there's lots of people that say you can't have it all. I think I disagree. You can have it all, but not all at the same time, and not all with the same intensity that you may want to have, because depending on your life stage, whether that's at home or work, right? I've now just joined a new company in a new role. Work at the moment takes a bit more of my energy than once I kind of get it.
Yeah.
I hope, which is normal. And I anticipated that, so that's okay. But that does mean that at this point in time, I don't deprioritize my children. Never. But it does mean that I see a bit less of my friends, or that I do spend a little bit less time one-on-one with my husband, because there's only so many hours in a day.
You're not going to sleep, and you don't want to sleep less, no? Because they say that that's the base of everything.
Yes. No, that's not. I mean, I've heard people say that, right? If you want to be a successful leader, you need to learn how to sleep faster. Honestly, no. It's crucial. And for me, it's more energy management in general than only sleep. But sleep plays a big part of it. Am I enjoying what I'm doing, right? I can put a lot of energy in, but do I also get energy from it? Nutrition for me is very important, right? I feel if I don't eat healthy, I feel that my energy shifts and that my body starts to somewhat protest. So healthy nutrition, I'm pretty disciplined. I think I'm lucky with a healthy dose of discipline, and an above average bit of energy that I'm born with, which helps. But is the energy balance, is that right?
And when it comes to nutrition, since everybody eats, me too, and I think it's an interesting one. Is there something like specific that you've learned, like how to, what to eat or when to eat? Or
yeah, so I suffer from a type of rheumatism.
With this, which is like, is that a bone?
It's an autoimmune thing that creates inflammations in my joints, mainly in my back, but also in other parts of my body, which is painful and shit. And it's autoimmune. It's not going to go away. So I have to learn how to deal with that. And there's things that make it worse, and there's things that make it less worse. And for example, not drinking alcohol helps me. Because of the medication that I take, whether I drink 2 glasses of wine or 2 bottles, I feel crap the next day. If you then talk energy management, right, and a full-on life, I don't want to waste my time feeling crap. So I stopped drinking years ago. I try to consume little sugar because I feel that sugar makes me tired. But sugar at the same time also, they fuel the inflammations in my body. I need to make sure I have sufficient iron. Everybody does. But if you've got this autoimmune disease, it's more difficult to get the iron from the food. And if your iron levels are low, inflammations can play up more easily. So
having like that condition has made you very aware of your body.
Oh, yes.
And what input affects it in one way or the other, no?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's simple things like I don't drink coffee or tea within 2 hours before or after eating, because it hampers your iron absorption. Is that the way to say it?
Really?
Yeah.
So I shouldn't. The thing that I do of like having lunch and having a coffee right afterwards is not a good idea.
I mean, everyone's different. For me, that's not the right thing to do, because then I end up talking suppletion, which I want to avoid.
These are things that probably apply to everyone.
Probably.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I found my way a bit. Medication, sports, sleep is important, which I find sometimes difficult with, the schedule.
With the excitement as well of life, no?
Yeah. So, but yeah.
No, it's interesting because I feel like I have more energy now than I did when I was 25.
Yeah?
Yeah. I don't know why, but like, I think I also really enjoy what I do and so on, which I think really helps.
Helps, yes.
Like when you dread, not that I dreaded that back then, my old boss still listening. There were moments. No, but I don't know. I think it's, I just think that being self-aware in general is so, like, of your body, but also of your actions and so on. It's super important in life, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely. No, and when I think back when I was like 20, 25, I wanted to be everywhere. And maybe that's what if you now say you've got more energy. If I think back, I wanted to be everywhere. I didn't want to miss out.
FOMO, but maybe not as much as I did before.
Yeah, I'm totally fine to say, hey guys, not for me tonight. I'm prioritizing differently.
Yeah. What? And you said you have 4 kids.
I do.
4 kids is a lot of time and a lot of money, a lot of love as well, I'm sure.
Oh yes, absolutely. Lots of fun, very intense, but lots of fun.
How have you and your partner? Well, what have been the biggest challenges? I'm gonna say for you, but I think it's important, like, to say that, because it's always like, oh, how do you get as a woman to have kids? But it's, of course, the woman has the one that carries the baby ultimately and who goes through more. But we should focus on both sides at the end.
Absolutely.
But for you, since I'm talking to you, what are like the main? I don't know if it's the main challenges or.
No, I think
then we'll talk about the good part.
Yeah, no, and thankfully they outweigh.
Will be solutions oriented.
Yeah, no, they outweigh the challenges. And to your point on, we're having kids together, me and my husband, and they're as much his children as they are mine. But for me to have a supportive husband is super important. I can't do what I'm doing, and I can't combine if he wouldn't be supportive. Equally, that he wouldn't be able to do his professional life if I would not support him. So we're really supportive of each other. And I mean, the sky is the limit for both of us. That's how we wanna look at it. Now, it is true that combining that whilst having 4 children it's not always easy. So what we've really done from the beginning is create a childcare solution that works for us. So that was a full-time nanny when we lived in Geneva, which is not so exceptional there. But then when we came here, the Netherlands is not so progressive when it comes to advancing women in their careers and ensuring that there's the appropriate system available. So I've spoken to lots of different agencies seeking for a full-time nanny because I just knew that that's the solution that works better for us versus daycare or school and aftercare, just because we need more support. So it took us 9 months. We had solutions during those 9 months, but they weren't as solid as the lady that we then found afterwards. So we've built a childcare system that works for us. It's expensive, but it works and it gives me peace of mind because during the day, I don't have to worry about, are my children looked after properly? Is there someone to pick them up from school? If one of them breaks their arm, will there be someone that takes them to the emergency, etc.? All of that is covered by the system that we've built. Also now, my older 2 children are 14 and 12, so they are in puberty, pre-puberty. They've got specific questions.
It will be fun.
Oh, yes, it is. I mean, you're very welcome to join us for dinner tonight and you'll see. It's fun, but it's also important that you have someone that has similar values, right? And a similar way of dealing with, what teenage kids do, right? Similar way of facing them, speaking to them, holding them accountable. So we've managed to rebuild that system also now that we're back in the Netherlands, which just gives me and us peace of mind. The other thing I think is priorities. Right? There's only so much I can get done. So I need to set priorities and I need to be clear about those. And that means, as I just said, that there's phases where I'm seeing a bit less of my friends. There's phases where I'm not seeing my mom or my sister or brother as much as I would like to. But then when the situation needs it, like I think it was 2 years ago, my mom ended up in hospital. 15 years ago, my dad had been ill for a year before he passed away. At that point in time, priorities shift. But I talk about that openly with my teams or with my manager or with the kids. My kids now know I'm in a new job. I may need to double down a bit on things versus what you said.
And it's part of having like the self-awareness of like what you said before, like that you can't do everything at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And that you can't have all the answers as well.
Also, yeah.
Like you can't be the perfect wife and the perfect daughter and mom and
not always all the time. No.
Not always all the time.
Not always all the time.
We strive for that, but
yeah. No, and that's also the thing, right? And that's where I believe women struggle more than men. Is we generalizing.
Yeah.
We put the bar so high and everything needs to be perfect.
Yeah.
And it can't all be perfect in my life. It cannot, right?
Even if you wanted it.
If I live according to the standard that society puts on me as a mom, I fail every day because I'm not always there for school drop-off, school pickup, teacher-parent meetings, all these things that society puts more on women than on men. I fail. Do I feel that I fail as a woman? Absolutely not. I've got 4 children. They're thriving. They're happy. There's love in our house. They are all doing well. But it's a different norm than what society.
How have you been? Because I was brought up in Barcelona, very middle class, but my mom's from New Zealand, so she would do things very differently to other moms. I'd be, why do I have to wash the dishes or do stuff at home? And then all the other kids are outside playing. And she was like, well, I'm from New Zealand.
Yeah, this is how we do things.
Exactly. No, but now I'm grateful for that in hindsight, right? I wasn't happy then, but obviously I kind of understood that as well, I have to say.
Yeah.
But for you, like, I know that in the Netherlands, I think in Germany as well, it's quite typical for when couples have kids, for the wife to like stop working or maybe take a part-time job or do volunteering or whatnot.
Yeah.
And you've had the conviction to stay in business and have a career and not. How have you have you resisted to like a certain social pressure of that?
Yes. And I think there is direct or obvious social pressure, and then there's the indirect. Or there's so many prejudices still out there. So yeah, I mean, for example, when we moved back to the Netherlands 4 years ago, I bumped into lots of different people at school, the field hockey teams of the kids, new people in the neighborhood. And I often got the question, Frouke, what's your day off? Right? When we were just introducing ourselves. So I thought, well, Saturday and Sunday, thinking maybe you work in a hospital or maybe you've got your own restaurant or whatever. But what people were implying was that I don't work full time.
Right? They took that for granted.
They took for granted that because I'm a woman and because at that time, we had 3 kids. Number 4 was born soon after. Because I am a woman, and because I have children, I shall not be working full time.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's like, I think it's important to clarify, it's with not bad intention. It's just like, it's something that's like so established that people take it for granted.
Yes. Yeah. And the comments that I've received over the years of why do you have children if you're always working? Well, mind you, I'm not always working. And mind you, this is my life, not yours, right?
Yeah.
And there's something in society where people just like to look at what's good and what's bad. But I think there's just so many different flavors.
Yeah.
Equally so, I don't judge people that have no children or one or
career.
2 or don't have an ambitious career. I don't want to judge people for what they have or expect people to live up to the way I'm living my life. So I did create a bit of a thick skin over the years of just, being confident that what I'm doing is the right thing. And I get it back from the kids, right? Especially the older 2.
Yeah,
They also see the benefit of both of us working hard, right? Like the holidays we can afford ourselves, the fact that we've got a house in the mountains. Not so long ago,
that they play hockey,
that they play field hockey. Yeah, no, but there's lots of benefits, and they start to see that, which is good. And not so long ago, I had it was a dinner conversation with the kids where the older 2 both had a friend staying. So we had 6 kids at the table.
Must be interesting that.
It was fun. And my husband wasn't there. I was alone with them. And we started talking about what their parents do. And one of them said, yeah, but my mother is always at home because she doesn't work. And somehow the conversation shifted to, guys, if you're older, what would you like? And then all 4 of them said, I think I'm going to work all days of the week because. And they played back so many positives of the opportunities it gives you, the responsibility some of them felt to really use what they're capable of in their life. It was the opportunity for my kids to say, hell no, I'm not going to do what my parents are doing. not to my children or not to myself. And they didn't do that. And that was I don't need confirmation, but somehow it's a very nice, it was a very nice feeling.
It's always good to get reassurance. Yeah. No? As much as we learn about from the negative feedback and the mistakes we do, to be reminded of that what we're doing is building something great.
Yes.
Is also good, no?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And I try to open their eyes as well about how not balanced the world still is, and how much privileges. I've got 3 boys, 1 girl. How many privileges there are for boys, more so than for girls. To make my 14-year-old is a boy, 12-year-old is a girl.
Yeah.
Make him aware of, small things that make big impact. Right? Don't let girls bike home alone at night. But if you see girls bike, don't pass them too narrow, right? Leave some space, because you may scare them unintentionally.
Yeah, and maybe there's not enough. I never been told this, for example, that like, I mean, not that I would do it, but like that that to be like kind of extra aware of, like, if a girl is cycling alone, to not like go close.
Yeah.
Probably same walking on the street.
Yeah.
To give them like some space. Well, it makes sense actually.
Yeah, it does. But indeed, because if you wouldn't give them space, you wouldn't do it, and neither would my son, to scare them. It would be unintentional unawareness of something that is perceived so different for the woman or the girl on the street.
And maybe these things are not vocalized, or how do you feel that seeing the world in perspective, we're in a bit of an interesting place.
Oh yes.
And we talked about the Lead network being around for 15 years, and now we're in a strange place where we're seeing a lot of like the whole masculinity is in a strange place. I think that's the thing. Women have more clear what they want and what they are, but men, there's a lot of men that are in a mess, and a lot of young teenagers that have gone back to positions that we thought would disappear. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also women as a consequence, right? The tread wives, or whatever they call themselves. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't want to judge, and I don't want to put, I'm not the one who wants to tell the world this is how to do it. But I find it scary that those voices resonate with so many people, and that they have such a big audience through social media and all of it. Because our children, they don't know what is real and what is not. And it's not going to get easier over the years, right? With AI ramping up, with TikTok and all these, where there's beautiful sides of it, but there's also lots of negative side of it. So how do we make our kids resilient to the new world? And how do we make sure that they learn how to have their own voice instead of just echoing what they've seen on a shitty TikTok video or whatsoever?
I think it goes back to what you said before, more in a business context, but being like transparent and clear and giving them perspective of things. I think that will help a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. And without going into politics, I can't help but sometimes ask myself the question, what if these big global economies, what if these big countries were led by women? Would we really be in the situation that we're in?
Doesn't sound, I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
If I can put a bet on it, I would say I don't.
And again, I
think we'd be in a better place. And I think it's a good reminder to think about that, because I think that things are not evolving as fast as some of us would like them to evolve. One last question, which is the one that we ask all our guests. Which is that if you went back to the beginning of your career, and with everything that you've learned, and you could give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Oh, that's a very nice question. I think I would tell myself, trust yourself, trust your gut, stay true to yourself, because that has enabled me so much to grow. But I didn't have that confidence at the start, which I think is normal. But stay true to yourself and push through. I wish I had a bit more of that when I started.
That's a good one and a good reminder for everybody. I think worth reminding as well that about the Lead Network. I think that it's a great network. It's been around for a long time, and I think there's great people in it, which is
Yeah.
and it's a good. I was gonna say a cause, but it's a good movement to be part of, and I think it's very empowering for everybody. So I do invite people to sign up and become involved. You can reach out to me or the Frouke.
Yeah.
As well, I'm a member, but I'm not an active member right now. But
so we'll change that.
Maybe
we'll change that.
I know a lot of people involved. Thanks so much for having me.
No, thanks for the conversation. Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure. So thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode of the FMCG Guys. Have a great one.